For the past few weeks, Raiders fans have been bombarded by negative reports about their quarterback competition. But all of a sudden, everything has completely changed as one quarterback showed that they could be the starter.
And Minshew throws left caught. Trey Tucker with a 44-yard hit from Gardner Minshew, who may be running away with this quarterback battle.
Let's break down this quarterback battle between Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell against the Minnesota Vikings. So in the 2024 offseason, the Raiders moved on from quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, and a lot of people were wondering what direction would the new head coach Antonio Pierce go in for the quarterback position. Aidan O'Connell, the quarterback who is now entering his second year after replacing Jimmy Garoppolo in the later half of the 2023 season, was still on the roster. When it came to free agency, the Raiders out of nowhere signed the former Indianapolis Colts quarterback Gardner Minshew to a 2-year contract worth $25 million with $15 million fully guaranteed. However, despite having both of these quarterbacks actively on the roster, while head coach Antonio Pierce spoke to the media, he openly expressed a willingness to trade up in the NFL draft.
That's my personality, as you guys saw and witnessed. I'm a go-getter. But, obviously that's got to be a collective agreement. Right.
Not only did the head coach say that he's a go-getter, trading up is his personality, but he also made a comment saying that he does not want a band-aid at the quarterback position, saying that's old. And it seems like he was heavily pressuring the new general manager and owner Mark Davis to trade up for a franchise quarterback. Unfortunately for the Raiders, a lot of the top quarterbacks went in the draft before they were selecting at pick 13. Michael Penix Jr. maybe could have fallen to the Raiders, but the Atlanta Falcons shocked the world by selecting him at pick number 8. Throughout this process, it was clear that Antonio Pierce wanted the Raiders to maybe grab Jaden Daniels, the former LSU quarterback who is good friends with Antonio Pierce from their time together at Arizona State. But unfortunately, the Commanders were always going to select him at pick number 2. So with no quarterback available at pick number 13, the Raiders selected the best player available, the tight end Brock Bowers out of Georgia. After the NFL draft, it seemed clear that the Raiders would have to make it work with Gardner Minshew or Aidan O'Connell, or like a lot of people like to say, Uncle Rico and Farva at the quarterback position. However, both of these QBs have faced a lot of criticism. Both of them lack athletic traits and arm strength. Aidan O'Connell has been criticized for being a statue in the pocket since he is a pocket passer, while holding on to the ball too long, taking unnecessary sacks. But we did see in late 2023, Aidan O'Connell put together some efficient drives and display some accuracy. On the other hand, Gardner Minshew is more willing to improvise, but some of this erratic behavior could lead to critical mistakes. Minshew did have some success in 2023, filling in for almost the entire year for an injured Anthony Richardson and making the Pro Bowl. But many wondered if this success was due to working with Shane Steichen, the offensive-minded Colts head coach who was the offensive coordinator for 2 years with Gardner Minshew at the Philadelphia Eagles. Minshew was in his 3rd year in the Shane Steichen system. Throughout training camp, the majority of reports from beat reporters and NFL insiders have been about how both of these quarterbacks have struggled. Despite their different styles, one a pocket passer, one an improviser, they both have the same result. Head coach Antonio Pierce openly said to the media that one of these guys has to step up.
Right now, we need to see somebody to say, hey, P, I'm your guy. I'm the quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders, and this is what it is.
Not only has the head coach been patiently waiting for somebody to take advantage of this opportunity, but star wide receiver Davante Adams, when he was at training camp, has appeared frustrated at times. According to ESPN Paul Gutierrez, Adams has looked frustrated with the proclivity of off-target balls thrown his way thus far, especially wayward targets that would have led to big hits on the receiver. In other words, Davante Adams has been upset with the hospital balls. Since then, Davante Adams has missed 5 training camp practices awaiting the birth of his newborn son, which is understandable, but at the same time, he is missing time building some chemistry with these quarterbacks. On the other hand, the Raiders' defense may be their best defense coming into the start of the 2024 season in decades. This defense is in the third consecutive year in their scheme, while the offense is learning a brand new scheme with coordinator Luke Getsy in their first year. However, NFL insiders on NFL Daily like Greg Rosenthal have been saying that the quarterback play is bad, mainly Aidan O'Connell.
And I'm convinced Aidan O'Connell is going to be trash this year and that this defense is going to be awesome. Man, O'Connell just did not look comfortable at all.
Fans have been nervous about these reports coming out of training camp. This even led to me talking about the former Oregon Duck QB number 3, Anthony Brown. Maybe he should get more reps if the other two guys aren't working out. But going into this first preseason game against the Minnesota Vikings, head coach Antonio Pierce, being very transparent, made it clear that each of the top 2 quarterbacks would play at least one quarter, Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell. Coaches, players, and fans were hoping that a different opponent, a different defense other than the Raiders' top defense, would lead to a more positive result for one of these quarterbacks. These preseason games are especially important because the Raiders are one of 2 teams in the NFL not having joint practices with another team this year. Luckily for Raiders fans, despite the negative reports, everything went in a positive direction in this preseason game. We were wondering which quarterback would have to play first in the first quarter, which quarterback would have to face the other team's starters, and it turned out it was Aidan O'Connell getting the first snap on offense in the first quarter. And unfortunately for Aidan O'Connell, he only had one drive throughout this entire game, and that is mainly because his drive took a good amount of time, plus the Vikings drive in the first quarter with quarterback Sam Darnold did also take a substantial amount of time. And Aidan O'Connell, contrary to all these negative reports, was consistent and efficient, able to get the ball to his playmakers down the field. For the most part, Aidan O'Connell did not deal with that much pressure. He had a clean pocket, and that allowed him to deliver the ball to his playmakers. But there were times, especially in the red zone, when he held on to the football a little too long and ended up getting sacked. We also saw moments with the first team offense against the Vikings first team defense where Aidan O'Connell threw the ball a little low to wide open receivers. You could see it on a short passing play to tight end Brock Bowers. Aidan O'Connell's thrown it low to where the guy has to reach for it down below. Either way, I think Aidan O'Connell impressed and did a lot better than a lot of us thought he would do based on some of these negative reports that we've heard out of training camp. But at the end of the day, Aidan O'Connell was not able to lead the team to a touchdown, only a field goal. The touchdowns only came when Minshew Mania, Gardner Minshew, took over in the second quarter. Gardner Minshew got kind of lucky compared to Aidan O'Connell because he was able to get 3 drives in total compared to Aidan O'Connell only getting 1 drive. Part of the reason why Gardner Minshew had more drives, despite the fact that he was playing the same amount of time as Aidan O'Connell, is because a lot of Gardner Minshew's drives were quick. He was making big plays, huge completions down the field like a long big-time bomb to wide receiver Trey Tucker. You also saw Minshew do what we expected him to do, use his legs a little bit to buy some time and also scramble and get some extra yards. Part of the reason why this was a good day for Gardner Minshew and his stock significantly rose after this game is because on 2 of the 3 drives that he had, he scored touchdowns. He was able to get a long completion on a play action to his wide receiver DJ Turner and also was able to help lead the Raiders down the field, allowing their running back to punch it in once they got inside the red zone. However, Minshew was going against primarily the second team defense of the Minnesota Vikings. You saw them take some starters out after Aidan O'Connell's first drive. So although he did perform better on the stat sheet, it looked better on the football field. It looked clean. He was making a lot more big plays than Aidan O'Connell. You still got to put an asterisk next to it because he's playing against the number 2s while Aidan O'Connell had to go against the number 1s. But I still think at the end of the day, he showed what this offense could look like if he was the starter, how he could put this team in a position to score points by getting the ball to the playmakers. And I also think Aidan O'Connell, to his credit, was primarily mistake-free and looked a lot better than we thought he would. On the flip side, the defense originally gave me a lot of concern. The defense was giving up big yards against the first team offense of the Minnesota Vikings. However, the first team defense was able to be stout in the red zone, preventing any points, and Jack Jones made the play of the day on defense, getting an interception against the first round pick, JJ McCarthy out of Michigan. So that showed a lot of optimism. This defense showed that they can clamp down when the pressure is on in the red zone, but Antonio Pierce and many fans were concerned about the amount of yards they gave up, and mainly the second team defense giving up tons of yards on the ground. Big wide open plays were happening. So the first team defense looks good right now, but the defense as a whole is significantly lacking depth, especially with the second team. The long shot underdog quarterback that I was rooting for, Anthony Brown, did not have a good day. He was able to make some plays with his legs, but for the most part, it was tough to evaluate the third string quarterback out of Oregon, mainly because the third string offensive line was so terrible, the guy had no time to do anything with the football. Davante Adams was not at the game. He is still in Las Vegas right now, waiting on the birth of his son. It will be interesting to see if he maybe gets in the preseason game next week when the Raiders play the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm expecting that Gardner Minshew will play in the first quarter against the first team defense with the first team offense, while Aidan O'Connell will play in the second quarter. And this is where we're going to really figure out who's the starting quarterback. Did Minshew just get lucky because he played against the second team defense, or is he really the guy to be the Raiders quarterback in 2024? Head coach Antonio Pierce has alluded to the fact that whoever is named quarterback one, the Raiders are going to roll with them for the rest of the season. They're not going to do this thing where they're pulling some guy out just because he has a bad few games. And I think that's smart. If you're going to roll with somebody as QB1, you want to put all your confidence in them, and you don't want to have this QB shuffle throughout the season. That just creates instability, and it also just demoralizes people. As for the defense, hopefully against the Cowboys, they don't give up many big plays, but they nonetheless still did not give up many points. And as far as the Oregon Duck quarterback Anthony Brown, I think that he does not have a shot in this quarterback competition, not necessarily because he did poorly, but because Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell proved that they'll at least be able to have an average performance for the Raiders in 2024. They did not look as bad as reports made them look in training camp. Let me know who you think is winning the Raiders quarterback job right now. We will be live during the next game against the Dallas Cowboys. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.